My experience was not just a single event. In 2011, I was walking my dogs when I began to have an anxiety attack. I fell to the ground gasping for air. I then had something tall and white come over me. I was told to get off the drugs, thyroid, referring me to get off the prescription drugs that were killing me. I immediately stopped taking the medicine and found a new endocrinologist for my thyroid. I found I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis along with a very active autoimmune system. 3 months later, I turned to God and asked Jesus into my life. For the next 2 years, I dealt with the colon. In 2013, I could not eat and was sucking on lemon drops and drinking liquids, as I could not keep anything down. I was afraid of rupturing or blowing out my colon. I finally got a surgeon to remove the bad section in October 2013. During my stay at the hospital, I had an experience with a negative being or energy. 2 days after the surgery, exhaust gases from construction equipment overcame me. I had to get out of bed and request a new room. I went and lay on the floor in the hallway in front of the elevators. My wife came and sat on the chairs. I remember a feeling to look at the hallway from where I had come and saw a black entity walk. This is when I realized where I was. I walked back to the hospital and called my wife to pick me up as the hospital would not allow me back. 3 days later, my wife went to work. I was home and not on any drugs. I began getting a cold feeling in which I put on thermals and sweats but could not get warm. I then got into bed. I usually sleep on top of covers with an Afghan as a cover. I got under the covers with 5 blankets and a down comforter. I still could not get warm. I began having chest pains and rolled over in the bed. I went into this darkness or void. It was black with no stars or anything except one distant light. It was extremely far away and looked like a very small dot. Then I began moving towards the light. I could tell I was moving forward with my head facing ahead and my hands to the sides. It was like I was parachuting or gliding through the sky, although I have never done this. I could tell the speed began to increase. I noticed there were no stars, which I thought was strange. One light directly in front of me was slowly getting larger. I could tell the blackness was nothing I had ever seen before. All I could tell is that I began gaining speed and heading towards this light that seemed to be dimming and getting bright like a flickering candle or light from a generator. I could tell I was going extremely fast. I began to see these bits of light, or something, that were running into me and I was absorbing them. I finally realized it was like information, sort of like the 10101010 in computer programming is the only way to explain it. The information started very slowly and began to increase in the numbers I was absorbing. As I got closer to this light and it became clearer to me, it was wider than in height. The light was a glowing, golden color I cannot describe since I had never seen anything like it before. As I got closer, I began to notice what looked like a planet but nothing like I have ever seen before. This planet was clear like a snow globe or clear glass in which this glowing, golden light was inside. As I got closer and the speed and information began to decrease, I could tell that on the edge were thousands and thousands of stars. I began to ask or think what was going on and what was this. My speed stopped and so did the information. I was just floating in space looking at the gorgeous, most beautiful view I had ever seen. I did not feel any pain or bad feelings. I felt peace, comfort, joy, and love like I never felt before. I just floated, taking in this view and trying to figure out what was happening. Then I could feel a very slight and soft communication or voice, but not like actually talking to someone. I did not see anyone. I felt the presence of a higher being in which I believe was God. This voice began communicating with, "Do you know where you are? Do you know what you are looking at?" I was trying to gather my thoughts as I began to realize this might be heaven. Now I was trying to grasp what I was seeing when the communication began to increase. I came to grips with what and where I was. I was floating outside of heaven, looking at it from a distance in space. It was like I traveled through a black hole since there were no other stars or lights on this travel. This being began telling me that I had some things to do. I was given 3 specific instructions. First was that I had to learn to forgive others, as it was one of the hardest things for me to do when crossed. I had to forgive myself also. God knew I had a real problem with forgiveness of others, and for me to learn it, I have to also teach it. I was told that if I just said that I forgave others, that it would not be from the heart. In order to show my truth in forgiving, I have to constantly be working on it. Second, I had to do something about my anger. Third, I had to go talk, teach, preach, write, and do a video of my experience. There was a point during this that I realized I could talk or communicate as well. I began to ask questions or talk. One of the things I asked was, is this heaven? The house to secure the property for my wife, before I came back. I still do want to be here on this planet with the beauty and feeling I had experienced and seen. I was then brought back into my body. I awoke in soaking wet bedding and clothes.